And from there though, because we are going to go through another change, so of course we have all those different steps of grief, and hopefully some of us have gone through acceptance and I love that, finding meaning. But we're going possibly through another step of uncertainty. So yes, we have spoken about grief and stress and different ways of coping, and especially for moms and everyone around us. How do we now we have to go from enhanced community quarantine though to possibly, and it's still quite unsure, but to possibly general community quarantine. Bianca, how are you feeling about that possible change again of the general community, like now opening up?
Right. My job is non-essential again, so we are not going back to work anytime soon because the work that I do, we are many different staff members in one room. So that's not happening anytime soon. My husband is a professional athlete and they are also considered non-essential and are not going to back to work anytime soon, even if it moves from ECQ to GCQ. My feelings about it moving to general community quarantine are, I feel like nothing much is going to change on my part. I actually don't like answering the question, what's the first thing you're going to do after quarantine? That's a common question, right? I don't like answering that question because actually, even if it's lifted, I don't think I will still go out. It's not like the virus magically will go away, even if it's general community quarantine. I mean, so many things will be a part of a new normal. I think even if it's GCQ, I will still only go out to get groceries or medicine. Everyone's still going to be wearing masks. Everyone's still going to be distancing when possible. We're still going to be washing our vegetables and fruits when we come home from the grocery. Because I cannot go back to work yet because we're not yet part of the GCQ phase, not much will change. But I'm also already managing my expectations that even if quarantine is lifted totally, we still will be having all these precautions to stay safe and healthy because health is now everyone's top priority.
What are your thoughts on that, Doctor? Because I mean, I think a lot of people feel that way as well. That I mean, some feel like nothing's going to change, and others are concerned that it will change, and they're fearful. So, do you have any thoughts on that, Dr. Herrera?
Yeah, I agree with Bianca in that. The consensus, I think, of health experts is that until we have a vaccine, which is at least about 18 months away, that life cannot be as it is pre-pandemic. And so the lifting of the GCQ, although it might make us feel, or could make some people feel that it's a different life. Maybe it's actually a bit more of the same because safety is still going to be a big concern. And so we really also still have to organize our lives in a very, very different way. So going back to the analogy of the marathon, I think the most realistic way to look at the future is that this is still a marathon. And the truth is that, we don't know how long this marathon is. So it's really important to really cultivate a mindset that allows us to radically accept that.
But how about, let's say, for those though that will have maybe essentials, or I mean, some other people going to work. So some people will be going back to the office as well, which we're quite unsure yet. With the rules per se, it's not specified yet. But once people start going out, I think there is this general fear of either people being afraid of when their loved ones come home, and then not also those who feel that they're missing out, especially, let's say, the elderly who won't be able to go out, or I'm not sure if the rule will apply, but the younger ones still about 20 years old. So those who need to stay at home. So there's that mix of like fear of missing out, and then those having people come home and them catching it.
Right. I think there's a lot of planning that we need to do for ourselves and with our families. So whatever there could be different scenarios for us. Like, for example, in my family, like my family runs a business. So what would that look like? So we've been spending time like planning different scenarios of what that could look like. So we could kind of know how to adapt to it, and those different scenarios will be, of course, will vary for all of us. But I think the planning enables us to look ahead and somehow take control in as much as we can about the things that we can affect, so that we can be also effective in keeping ourselves safe, so as to lower our anxiety about getting sick or getting contaminated. um, but also being prepared for what it is that we're going to have to deal with post ECQ. So if someone has to go back to work, what will the procedures be so that when you go back home, it's safe for everyone else at home? What would be your sanitation procedures? What would be so a lot of those details, I think, need to be ironed out, and we need to sit through that and take the time to plan and prepare.
In even our household per se,
Yeah.
like how will we actively participate with the government's guidelines? How will we
Yes.
follow through? Is there anything that both of you are pre-planning on how will you be approaching the general community quarantine? Bianca, if there's a pre-planning that you're doing, or Dr. Joanna as well.
One thing that I started doing during quarantine, which I ashamedly never did before, was listing down our expenses to the dot. I did not used to do that before, and my husband did not as well. But going back to my earlier answer about more money coming out, going out than coming in, I Excel sheet everything, and it I think that is something that we will definitely have to continue post ECQ, post GCQ, because of the uncertainty of non-essential jobs. I mean, like Doc said, it's a marathon. We don't know kailan to matatapos, so we have to stay afloat. So aside from being more aware financially, um, my husband also runs like small businesses, same as what Doc said. We know that once it reopens, it's a gas station. Once it reopens, protocols everywhere, masks, face shields for the crew and the staff, etc., etc. So we are in that planning stage as well.
Dr. Herrera, if there was anything you'd like to add on that.
Yeah, would you like me to share my slide? I have a slide for this.
I love it. The more slides, the better.
Um, yeah. I mean, I think what Bianca shared was also really, really practical. Um, we have to.
Also, just a reminder to our viewers, please, don't forget, if you have any questions, especially on Dr. Herrera's slides, please post on the Q&A section, and we'll be selecting 3 that we'll be answering after the talk. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so this is so a while ago we were kind of talking about the S's. Now we're going through the P's. So it's kind of like wisdom for thriving through the road ahead. And I think the way I'm framing this, I mean, really for myself, and also, I mean, this is the deepest conviction that I'd like to share with everyone is that this is a crucible moment. So a crucible is it's an object that turns base metals into gold, right? So in as much as it's dark and painful and difficult and there's a lot of loss, we can never lose sight of the other side of it, which is there's still life, there's transformation, there's opportunity that's possible. So I'm thinking along these 5 P's, in terms of what will help us thrive through this pandemic. The first is perspective, like just reminding ourselves that inner reality always trumps external reality. So between stimulus, which is external reality, and response is human freedom. And so we have the freedom to choose our angle. You know, if you're a photographer, what angle are you going to choose to look at, you know, what angle are you going to choose to look at something? So that perspective matters so much, and it makes all the difference. Um, Presence is the way we show up. I think paying attention to how we show up to ourselves and how we show up to others. I think there's something about our old life that I don't want to go back to. Like, there's something about the breathless way we lived our lives before that, you know, perhaps we shouldn't really go back to. This could be a chance for us to become more mindful of connecting with our deeper selves and connecting with others in a deeper way and listening in a deeper way. Purpose is, you know, really making as a crucible moment, like daring to look within and really asking ourselves, you know, what was I anchoring myself on things that were so external to my true happiness? And how do I sift through that now so that I can kind of become more aligned with my true north and find my true north? Participate is being part of a greater good. It's very healthy for us to know that we can put in, like, our efforts are going into something that benefits other people. So when we have a sense of being able to do something, help, assist, or give something to this collective effort of combating the pandemic, it makes us feel better about ourselves, and it allows us to solve complex problems in a more effective way. And the last one is possibility, just not forgetting to dream or not throwing away our dreams, being able to look beyond the problem and you know, maintain a sense of vision and faith and imagination.
These are wonderful tips. So the 5 P's.
The 5 P's.
Bianca, how do you feel about the 5 P's?
I love it. It's so great that Doc has labels for it, because sometimes it's things that you feel. I especially resonated with what you said, Doc, about we used to live just so hurriedly, like do this, do this, do this, do this. Okay, done with the day, sleep. Next day, do this, do this. And that's definitely something we should all not go back to. Everything will change outside, but I think all of us also, before stepping outside, we know that we have to change as well.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, I think that's so wonderful, because I mean, there is no vaccine available for COVID-19 available, and there are reports of possible global recession and impacts to our economy. But as you both mentioned, you know, we are learning something different as well. We're becoming a bit more attuned to ourselves. It's given us an opportunity to stop and really reflect as a society and even on our own. Would you say that, I mean, how would we strive to look ahead given all that? I mean, how do we still have hope? And I mean, do we have hope after all this? Bianca?
Can't not have hope. I think I don't know how different it is for other people who have a different setup. But me, because I have young kids, I cannot not hope. I guess for individuals or couples who don't or choose to not have kids, for them it's their sense of purpose, their careers that give them hope. We can't not have hope. I think it's really about managing expectations after this. Like, we know that after this we all have to work doubly hard, right? We know that after this we have to adjust along with everyone's having a hard time, and we have to take part in that, whether it's a pay cut, whether it's dealing with curfew for the long run. It's something that it's not about the I anymore. I shared this before with Father Tito Kaluwag when I was asking for spiritual guidance. When the quarantine started, when the lockdown started, it's like, paano na yung trabaho ko? Paano na yung kakainin ko? Parang it was all very I. But as we go on, we realize it's not about us. It's about all of us. So we really have to do our part in the greater scheme of things. So that is how I'm looking forward. Yes, with hope, but more of a realistic managing of expectations. Things will really have to change.
Change, and I mean that's what gives us hope, right? I mean, how wonderful in a way it is through that challenge, through this what we're going through, which is considered something unprecedented and in a way disastrous, but we are thinking more of not I, but as a community, as a we, like you mentioned. Dr. Herrera, do you still have hope?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want this to be kind of a plastered kind of thing, because I'm a psychologist, of course, I should have hope. I mean, I'm saying this because, well, one, I've also, of course, like any other human being, experienced my own difficulties, my own dark points in life. In my early 20s, I was bedridden for 6 months because I had a near fatal accident, and so for a few months not knowing if I could walk again, and so I'm just saying that I'm not responding to this as a psychologist, but as a human being, that that it's, I'm going to quote Mark Nepo, a spiritual writer, and he said, what crushes us can feel cruel and unjust, but it's what it opens within us that matters more. And so, it's not kind of hope in the sense of toxic positivity, I hope, but it's more of being attuned to and not escaping from what's difficult and painful about the now, but knowing that, everything that lives had to burst open from something. And like, a plant, the seed has to burst open, and that took some force and that takes some pain. But it's what also gives life. So it's pain and happiness are inseparable. Pain and joy are inseparable. Life and death are inseparable. But I think I am with Bianca in that hope comes from a sense of, I'm not in this alone. We're walking this road together. And I think it's finding our true nature as one human family that also can feel so comforting in a very deep way. And I think we have to be intentional in nurturing our hope. Hope is a skill, I think. It's not just something that happens spontaneously, but I think it's a skill. I mean, the more that we practice what enhances our well-being and what enhances the well-being of people around us, then hope lives. So, yeah.
That's so wonderful. Hope is a skill. I mean, that is something that I don't think we've heard really that often. When you say it's a skill, how can we practice this skill?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of what we've talked about, but it's, I think, intentionally generating a sense of well-being in yourself and a sense of possibility. All the things that we mentioned before, we need to practice intentionally, actively. We can't leave it to chance. We can't leave it to chance. We can't leave our well-being to chance. So there are guideposts. We have to create these guideposts and these moments in our life when we're making an active choice to take care of ourselves and to take care of people around us, to take care of our community. So, the things that we do to take care of ourselves, we need to do consistently. And compassion is something we want to cultivate in a very active, intentional way.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you. Those are beautiful key messages that I hope our viewers will take away a lot from. But so, I mean, I love all these messages, but, before we come to an end, I would love if you can answer some of our questions from our viewers. Is that all right?
Sure.
Yeah. So, from Cynthia Fernandez, do you think the stress as parents feel because of the sudden halt of everything around us has an effect on our kids, also what our parents feel. If they notice the stress on us as parents, will it have any effect on them?
Did you want me to answer that, Anne?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So stress regulation and emotional regulation is really a co-regulation. You just don't do it for yourself. We do it with each other and for each other. There are ways that our brains are communicating with each other in a way that helps us regulate. And it's much more important between parents and kids, much more important when the kids are younger, because we set the emotional environment that can make them feel safe and secure or not. So they're very perceptive to when adults around them are feeling anxious and worried. That will naturally also take away from their sense of emotional security. So that's why if we want to help our kids regulate their stress, it always has to start from us, adults.
Thank you. Bianca, is there anything you'd like to share from your experience of, have you given that energy before and had to work on that?
Same as Doc, yes. One big yes. Definitely your energy as a parent, most especially your energy as a mom, rubs off on your children. That happens with me and I see it all the time. I realize that sometimes when my toddler is irritable, I stop and think, what was my energy this morning? Was I irritable this morning? And usually the answer is yes. So energy definitely rubs off on young kids, and even actually to dog parents. I think you also feel the same way. Like, diba dogs feel the energy of their human, ika nga. So definitely yes with the kids. So we just have to try our best to keep our energy healthy. Is that the term? Especially when we're around our little kids.
And that's also with what Dr. Herrera said before: be compassionate, self-compassionate, right? Be kind to ourselves. So thank you. For the next question, this one is from an anonymous attendee. So you mentioned about timpla and balances between but your timpla saying came out now. And balances between men and women. What is the best approach to speak to my husband so that I can get him to help out more and share the burden? Sorry, because sometimes he acts as if he's on vacation.
Oh my. Yeah, the
Bianca,
timpla
please,
is really...
would you like to start?
Yeah, I've learned a few things about marriage during this quarantine. I've been married 5 years, so fairly new. Still in the learning curve, I'd say. Actually, you would know best how to talk to your husband, because every man, although they have similarities, every man is different. Just like every person has a different love language, whether they like time or words of affection or physical touch and things like that. Though you know how, well, that's why you are partners, you know how to effectively talk to your partner in such a way that he or she will hear you, right? And another tip I can give is, one is, two tips pala, is timing. Timingan mo when you'll say it. Don't do it like pagising sa umaga, or don't do it when timingan mo when he's in a good mood or she is in a good mood. And second is, a lot of the times, it's not what we say, but how we say it, really. I'm sure our husbands will not mind if we ask them to watch our kids for a while, or if we ask them to bring out the trash or whatever. They will not mind. I mean, it's not a vacation. I'm sure they know as well. But it's in how you say it, whether your husband appreciates the palambing way or just the explaining way. Be mindful of how you say it. Don't say it like, it's your turn to do this. Of course, he will not respond well, right? As much as you're so tempted to say it that way, just try to stop yourself and say it in a nice way. there.
Ooh, that's so hard. That's so hard. But yes, it's
Si
true. Like
Tom
how we say
naman.
it, you have to
Yeah.
meditate and keep calm before we speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Easier said than done, but at least we can try.
How about you, Doctor?
Yeah.
Dr. Herrera?
No, I mean, Bianca really gave some very good tips. Those are really good, like timing and paying attention to the non-verbals of like how you say it. And then I like starting with a describe, like just describe the situation that you're having so that it doesn't come across as a judgment or like a correction. Like describe what the situation has been like for you, like this has been the situation for me, and this is the way I've been feeling about it. And then express your feeling, assert your need. Like it's really important for me, for my own well-being, for my own self-care, that I get some help around this. And I'd really love it if we can talk about it and negotiate on this. Maybe there are things that you can help me with. So, but I think the describe provides the context of what you're experiencing so that we don't assume that they know what it is you're going through.
So don't assume.
Yeah,
Or an important one.
Don't assume that
Don't assume that they know because they don't know
Yeah.
talaga. That is one thing I learned. I learned talaga. They
Yeah.
sometimes really don't. So, yeah, we'll just say
Men
it na lang.
function differently as well, right? I mean,
Yeah, definitely for sure.
so communication and don't assume. So on to our next, thank you very much. So on to our next question, our last question of the day. If there isn't anyone I can speak to living on my own and my friends aren't as responsive because they have family to deal with, is there a community or someone who can help online I can reach out to? So wonderful question. Dr. Herrera, if do you know any?
Yeah. I'm part of this organization. It's a nonprofit organization called Circle of Hope, and we host Mindful Mondays. It's a mindful community, and if you go to our Facebook page, Circle of Hope, you will find out how to join us on Mondays at 12 noon. So we've been gathering as a community since the start of the ECQ. We kind of do a mindful practice together. So the feeling of being with other people and journeying with other people in a mindful way has been quite helpful to the ones who've been joining, if that's your thing. Um, there are also several organizations providing free telemental health right now. If you feel like that's something you want to utilize or make use of. In Circle of Hope, the telemental health is for frontliners and for PUIs, PUMs, people who are going through COVID, and families who are taking care of patients. But there are other organizations. I think UP Psych Serve, it's called Psych Serve. They are open to, I think, anyone who is experiencing loneliness, or they just want to reach out to a counselor, to someone who can help them through whatever difficulty you're having.
So this Circle of Hope, you can find it where? Sorry?
We're on Facebook. We're on Facebook.
On Facebook.
Circle of Hope.
Circle of Hope.
Yes.
And then UP Psych.
And then UP Psych Serve. Yeah. Although I'm not part of that organization, so I hope I am speaking accurately. But as far as I know, they're open to anyone who needs mental health support.
And how about for frontliners? Is there one that frontliners, especially because today all the essentials really do need help? And I mean, sometimes they do need to open up,
Right.
especially about their anxieties.
Yes.
Who can they speak to and where can they go to?
So, and Circle of Hope. So we, from the first week of the lockdown of the ECQ, we've been providing self-compassion break. So you can register or sign up if you're a frontliner, and you'll be assigned to a clinician, and that's for free. And you can call as many times as you need to. We've had healthcare workers from here in Metro Manila and elsewhere. We've had OFW healthcare workers.
That's incredible, Dr. Herrera.
We've had
Thank
LG.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Herrera, for your work. I wanted to ask though, Bianca, since we're coming to an end, unfortunately, any last message that you'd have of hope, of something that, that you'd like to share?
There is this strange comfort that knowing that we are not alone in what we're going through. All of my family, I'm the only one here in Manila. My mom is in LA, brothers in San Francisco, sisters in London. So for more than 9 years, we've all been talking to each other like this via video call. And it's so strange that now when we do talk, it feels like we're closer than ever because it's how everyone is talking now. And so whenever I feel overwhelmed or uncertain about the future, I just connect with family. And yun nga, that strange comfort knowing that it's not just us, it's not just this country, it's many countries, it's all of us around the world experiencing this right now. You just have to believe it, that we're just gonna get through this. There's no other way. So I hope that this time really is the time for us to reassess. That's what I have been doing. It's really reassessing what in my life and in my family's life will change after this. And we have to mentally prepare ourselves also for what is to come. So it's a lot of that. It's a lot of hope. It's a lot of reading up. It's a lot of connecting with family and friends. It's a lot of watching what you want on YouTube or on Netflix. It's a mix of all these different things. So thank you to everyone who joined us today. And thank you, Anne, and thank you, Doc. I learned so much from the both of you.
Thank you so much, Bianca, for sharing your insights. And happy Mother's Day to you, because in a few hours it'll be Mother's Day.
Thank you.
And I think you've inspired a lot of people to become mothers. When you said that your stress decreased when you became a mother, that gives a lot of moms hope.
The tiredness increased, but I guess the stress decreased because you're just filled with love. Maybe that's why the stress decreased. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences. It was so insightful.
Thank you also.
And how about you, Dr. Herrera? Any last message before we go?
Yeah, well, I just realized the word we haven't mentioned yet is courage. And I think this situation calls for a lot of courage. But I think it's not the courage that we might usually think about in the sense of toughening it up or just showing up as this really strong, invincible person. But it's, I think, as Brene Brown would say, the courage to lean in on our vulnerability. So I think it's the courage to be real, and giving ourselves the freedom to be real, and once and for all, let go of the things you've had a hard time letting go of before. Really make this a crucible moment for those courageous decisions and choices.
I love it. Connection from Bianca and courage from Dr. Herrera. Thank you so much. We learned so much from the both of you, and it meant a lot having both of you here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye, Bianca. Bye, Dr. Herrera.
Thank you.
And thank you so much to our audience for joining us here in Couch Talk. I hope you're able to apply some of the tips as we transition into this possible general community quarantine. But I think it's also something we can use in our everyday lives. And of course, ending on a hopeful note, as we mentioned to Bianca, tomorrow is a very special day. So to all amazing mothers out there, those in our homes, and those who are serving us, especially in the front lines to keep us safe, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And speaking of moms, tune in to our next Couch Talk webinar series next Saturday. We will be talking about new moms during COVID times. And follow us on Instagram at Behind the Scenes Inc. to know more. This is Anne. See you all next week. Thank you.